Special shout out to all my patrons.
I'm ready and it catches. I'm going to have the child. I'm now financially free. I don't need the father to be there. She says it. This is this now. I'm like, okay, you really want to do that? Don't you think the kid is going to be at a disadvantage without the dad? She's like, nah, man, blah, blah, blah. My first child, I'm raising her good. Now she goes and gets pregnant with some guy. And 4 months into the pregnancy, the guy gets involved in a car accident and passes on. And you know what she does? She says, I can't raise this child by myself. And then she goes and has an abortion.
Okay.
Why should she have so much power over such an innocent child that she intentionally brought into her womb? And then now, because it's inconvenient, even though at first she said that's what she's looking for, now and that innocent child has to go. I know it's anecdotal, but I think the issue of abortion is based on the majority. We can't talk about the SA and the R word and all those things, because like
You
after
can't
our set,
wait.
wait, let me finish. You've had all the time on the panel. We have literally established that it's not the majority. Most of the time it's convenience. People go out there and become reckless in bed, and then one think that abortion is the solution to that. And I think it is very wrong for people to do that. You understand? Body autonomy does not give you autonomy over that child's body as well.
Okay, I'm going to respond to this. Firstly, you as a South African, because I'm also South African, right? You as a South African saying that SA cases here, like that's the minority, when this country is quite literally third in the world in rape cases, is absolutely ridiculous. Secondly, she changed her mind. People are allowed to do that, right? She had a plan, and then
thank you.
Later on, she changed her mind. She realized, hey, you know what? Actually, I can't do this alone. I thought I could, but I'm realizing now that I cannot. So she made
at the expense of that baby.
I'm not done. She made the best decision for herself and got an abortion. She is allowed to do that because it is her body. So she gets to decide whether or not she is going to carry another being in there for 9 months and give birth to it and take care of it. She gets to make that decision. You don't have to like it, right? But you also don't get to shame her for that. And to say that we should speak on the majority, but then use anecdotal evidence is just inconsistent. It doesn't make any sense.
That's not what I was doing. I was giving you an example and then going into the stats. This thing of you saying it's 3 in the world, it's 3 in the world, but it does not outnumber the normal pregnancies. It's still not the situation, unless if you're reading about South Africa in the books and you're not based here. In real life in South Africa, there are more normal pregnancies.
I'm living in South Africa.
Yes, but go get the stats at the hospital. You said you're not finished talking. I'm not finished talking. Hold your horses, please.
Okay.
In the hospitals, they give you the stats that this is where the baby's born, this is the situation with the R word and everything. It does not even come close. The numbers are high in silos to say this is what happened to women and it's high. But when it compares to the normal people who are having consensual sex, it doesn't even come close. So please do not be an extremist and make it seem like those cases are above the normal ones. Here, you saying people have a right to change their mind. You can't just change your mind at the expense of an innocent child that didn't ask to be there. That is
Can I say something?
I'm not emotional. I just speak like this all the time. I've got a loud voice.
Can I say something? A couple things. The reason why we
it is a child.
The reason why we ask about the SA exception is that if you're making the claim that they can't have an abortion because they willingly put the fetus there, we need to know that you're logically consistent. And in a scenario where they didn't willingly put the fetus there, they're allowed to have an abortion. So that's why we talk about the SA exception. So if you don't give the SA exception, then you don't actually care whether or not they willingly had consensual sex to get pregnant. That doesn't matter at all.
I give the
I think
exception.
every
If someone,
yeah, I think everyone here gives it.
if someone was
Right.
essayed, they have that. I think they should have that option because they didn't
Right.
ask. They did not consent to being in that position. That one I
I
understand.
think we all agree with that.
Great.
Yeah,
Perfect.
I think
Do
it's
you
weird.
But
Do
if
you
if
think
I
that
Hold
go,
on. Wait.
if I go and
Hold on.
just sleep with someone,
Hold on. I just want to,
Okay.
before we get too far away from it, I just want to point out an inconsistency when I started listening to this live, which was
Okay.
the person at the bottom after hours and the host, you guys specifically said you can't have a right to bodily autonomy because certain drugs are illegal. Like I wrote it down word for word. And then you
I
said
made that claim, yes.
Yeah, and then you said that somebody talking about bodily autonomy is an appeal to legality when no, that quote of yours is the appeal to legality. You're saying this moral stance is immoral because certain things are illegal. That's an appeal to legality, not I have
No,
a
it would
moral
not be.
stance of bodily autonomy.
I never said that.
You both did.
made the
I
claim.
wrote it down word for word when you
After
both said
hours,
it.
you said
No,
that.
your mom never made the claim. I'm gonna be very specific. I made the claim. No one else made that claim but me. I'm not gonna try to shift blame on anyone. I made the claim because the only right that anyone has to bodily autonomy is only ever stated in legal nomenclature. That's it. There's not a universal constant, there's not a universal law that dictates it. And if you say it's morality, since morality is subjective, unless you can prove otherwise without deduction,
Wait, what are
that
rights?
it would
What are
only-
rights?
a right would be something that the government grants you that
False.
you have.
False. No,
That's not what
that's a liberty. We call them rights, but that's more a liberty. And that's the government defending what they believe our rights are. But there are things that we consider innate human rights, such as the right to life, the right to bodily autonomy. These are things, rights are social contracts between sentient beings that sort of dictate how we interact with each other in the world. So you can, if you want to have a completely legal conversation, we can. But when we're talking about rights, we're talking about morally what ought to be, not what is. So when we go into legality, which is you can't have this right because legally this is this and this is that, that's not an is ought question. We're not asking what ought to, like what is. We're asking what
So
ought
is
to be
freedom
in
of
this case.
speech
No.
is freedom of speech a right or is it a liberty? By your own metric?
Well, it's 100% a liberty. Yeah.
No,
You can
it's
claim
correct.
we have a government, a legal right to it,
Come on, man.
but it's illegal. People
So
in their
bodily autonomy is a right, but freedom of speech, which I'm doing with my own bodily autonomy, is no longer considered a right.
well, first of all, you don't have full freedom of speech. So no, it's not a right because the
You
government
don't
can
have free.
infringe upon it.
You don't have full bodily autonomy either.
Yeah, but I think what we have to do when we're looking at abortion specifically, right? What we have to do is we have to determine the level of care given and the level of reactions we can take. So when I look at abortion, I see it as an extreme level of care when you're pregnant. And if you do not consent to that extreme level of care, you should not have to give that extreme level of care.
I also
Joven.
want to say the idea that having consensual sex is consenting to pregnancy is not true because we cannot consent to bodily processes and biological processes, right? You cannot consent to getting pregnant. It's something that just happens, just like any other sort of bodily condition. If someone like smokes, they know that there is a potential that they can get lung cancer, but they do not necessarily consent to getting lung
Yes.
cancer, right?
Agree.
Can you consent to
so-
drinking? Can anyone consent to
Yes.
drinking as long as they're of legal age? So with that
Yes.
same logic, I'm consenting to drinking, but since drinking is an agonist for certain biological pathways, I'm not consenting to reduced reflexes that may or may not result in the death of somebody if I engage in driving. So I did not consent to killing that person.
Right. Yeah. You cannot consent to like being drunk or getting hung over because those are just natural bodily like functions, right? But you can consent to drink. You do know what will happen when you drink. So you can have sex knowing that there is a possibility that you will get pregnant. That is not the same thing as consenting to being pregnant.
Risk
It's a
and
different
consent.
Yes.
Risk and consent are
Yes,
different
you
things.
You can't consent to biological processes, but it's really irrelevant. The word consent
How
is
is that irrelevant?
Well, it doesn't matter because they all
Okay,
give
can I ask
SA
something?
exceptions, so it doesn't
Can I
matter.
ask
They all
something?
give the
Can
exception.
I ask something while she's on this point? So if you saying it's not giving consent, at that point when I'm drinking and I know it's a possibility that I can run someone over when I'm drunk, Why am I being held accountable when it eventually happens?
This is a pointless argument. You all give the SA exception. We're going to be sitting here talking for 20 minutes when you all give the SA exception.
I'm not talking about SA, man. I'm talking about drinking now.
If we're talking about whether consent to sex is consent to pregnancy, that only matters if you don't give the SA exception. But you all give the SA exception. So we'll be sitting here going in circles
No, man, wait. We are going with something else now. I'm following in Dumi's logic. He says giving consent to sex. It's not giving consent to pregnancy. It's about risk and consent. So I'm saying to you, if you know there's a possibility that you might be pregnant, and you know there's a possibility that when you drink, you might run someone over, and you do either, why are you not held responsible for the one, but held responsible for others?
You are responsible for a pregnancy. You are responsible.
Thank you. Exactly.
Responsible.
Getting an abortion is taking responsibility,
but,
right?
But the guy at the top, please, let us speak.
Getting an abortion is taking responsibility. It's just not the form of responsibility you want.
That's a cop-out. That's a cop-out.
No, it's not.
Getting an abortion...
You knew what you were risking when you were having consensual sex.
Hold on. Getting an abortion isn't fun, right? Like, it's a hard decision to make.
Appeal to emotion.
Right? I'm not appealing to emotion at all. It's a hard decision to make,
Makwa,
right?
Just let her talk.
You are taking responsibility. You are making the choice. You're saying, hey, I'm pregnant. I now need to take responsibility and do something about this. And you get an abortion. That is taking responsibility. It's just not the form of responsibility that you might like, but it is taking responsibility. Like, so it's saying that you're not being held accountable isn't true. You're taking responsibility.
With that same logic, if I'm convicted of a crime but I flee the country, I'm taking responsibility for my actions by fleeing the country. Does that make it okay?
No, because you're not dealing with the crime.
No, but I'm taking responsibility for my actions.
So this is the issue. Now we have to
conclusion by fleeing the country.
No, now we have to come to a common definition of responsibility. Right? Because the definition I use is the state or fact of having a duty to deal with something or having control over someone. You fleeing is not dealing with the thing. An abortion is still dealing with the pregnancy. It's just dealing with it in a way you guys don't like. So this idea of like, it is responsible, it's not responsible is just redundant.
How is me fleeing the country not dealing with my circumstances? I'm dealing with them by fleeing the country.
No, you're not dealing with them at all. That's the whole point.
Dealing with it. You're quite literally running away from it.
Dealing with them would be trying the case.
Deleting a fetus is dealing with your actions, but deleting me living in America is not dealing with my actions. But both of them are deleting something. So where's the dichotomy there?
Yeah, again, so when it comes to...
I think Ndumi understands you. I think she understands you. Honestly speaking,
right.
She gets you after hours. They are literally insisting on there being a difference, but it's the same thing. You can't act like getting an abortion is you taking responsibility. No, you are actually getting rid of the responsibility.
No, you are taking responsibility by getting an abortion.
Nope.
You are taking responsibility.
Nope.
Wait,
you're getting rid of it.
Is adoption like doing a responsible thing? Because that's the same thing. You're getting rid of it.
Hold on.
No, it's a life. It's a life.
You can go away.
It's nothing to do with getting rid of it then.
But you're getting if you give a child up for adoption, you're getting rid of it. You don't have to take care of it anymore. So technically, you are
fleeing from being so you're fleeing from being a parent if you abort.
But the responsibility is still there. It's not. You didn't delete it.
No, this is the issue. The responsibility thing is too subjective. It's such a subjective thing that it's pointless to talk about. It's so
fine.
Subjective.
We can agree that it's subjective. Yes, we can agree that it's subjective. But if the responsibility is there, at least someone else is taking care of it. But you deleting it, no one is taking care of that responsibility. You got rid of the total responsibility.
No one is serving my prison sentence if I flee the country. Now are they?
Exactly.
If I get an abortion, I'm fleeing from being a parent. If I am charged with a crime but I flee the country, I'm fleeing my conviction.
No, if I have an abortion,
adoption is fleeing from being a parent too.
You're passing the responsibility off to someone else.
This is the issue, right? When we're talking about like fleeing
Exactly.
from something,
You're not
I don't
getting
even think
rid
an
of the
abortion
responsibility.
is fleeing anything, right? When we're talking about you committed a crime, so you left. The issue of that crime is still unresolved. There's nothing there. When you have an abortion, what you're doing is you're saying, I know I'm pregnant. I no longer consent to being pregnant, so I'm going to end the pregnancy. Everything about that pregnancy is still being handled, but the crime, the thing that you did,
Yes.
is still left in limbo. So that's
It's
why I would
only a
disagree
crime
with these
because it's a
things.
social construct that you agree
Yes.
to.
I
If I no
know I
longer
ran you over when
consent
I was
to that
drunk,
social
but I
contract,
no longer consent to running you over. So don't arrest me. That's what you say.
No, it's not. Again, why are we talking consent? You
It's
all
the
give the
same
SA.
thing.
Do you give the SA exception or not?
we do.
Why do
Well,
you
then
keep
why do
talking
you?
about
consent
So
to
essay
then
being
when
why do you
no,
keep
man,
bringing
please.
up
You
consent?
brought up consent when it came to consenting
You're
to
the
being
one that
pregnant.
No.
said
You
you
brought it
changed your
up.
mind about pregnancy.
Wait. Stop.
You brought it up
This is
after.
so ridiculous. There's a difference between consenting to someone using your body and whether or not you've consented to a biological process. Now, we've all agreed that pregnancy is a biological process, and we've all agreed that if you didn't engage in the sex, you don't have to have it. You can have an abortion. So talking about consent to sex, consent to pregnancy is a pointless topic. We can talk about whether you can consent to something
you brought
using
up
your
consent
body.
to pregnancy, though.
Yes, no, Ndumi did, and I literally said
Yeah, I only
we're just
brought
gonna
it
like
up.
what we've been doing, going on for 15 minutes about a topic we all agree on.
Yeah, by the way, I only brought it up because Nabul did bring up consenting to pregnancy earlier, and I just wanted to clarify that you cannot consent to pregnancy. But I also do agree with Joe on that it is kind of irrelevant to talk about it.
The one
So
thing
you
I agree with Ndumi on, honestly speaking, that's where I saw what she said before I hopped onto the panel, was even when after I was said there, being consistent, you know. So all I'm saying is if women agree that men can also say, you know what, I do not want to be a father, I don't want to give consent to being a father, and there's no child support, then we can at least as a species agree that we put ourselves first. Not half of the species saying, you know what, when I get pregnant, I can say I don't want this, and then the other half is now being called a deadbeat when they change their minds.
Well, it doesn't matter what
Yeah.
So
you're
if we
called.
can
It
all
doesn't matter
agree
what
that
you're
we are bad
called,
people,
right? If like in the US, for example, in most states in the US, you can sign away your parental rights. You do it
With the
before the
consent
no,
child
of
is
the
then
born.
mother. With the
not
consent
if
of the
the mother
mother.
disagrees.
No, you don't need consent of the mother. It just needs to be a
You do need
judge.
the
No,
consent
a
of the mother.
judge just needs to approve
No,
it.
it doesn't work like that.
Yes, it does.
Listen to
According
what
to
I'm
what
saying.
state?
I
No,
literally
listen to what I'm saying.
exist in a state where my father signed away parental rights without consent of my
Can
mother.
I explain to you?
What? A judge
If you don't
just
want
has
to
to
listen,
approve
jump
it.
off. If you don't want to
Jesus.
listen to others, jump off.
Yeah,
What I'm
so
saying is,
according to supremecourt.gov,
Ndumi,
federally and all 50 states, you need the consent of both parents. So either your father somehow
thank you.
circumvented the law,
If the mother
or
disagrees,
your
you're
parents
paying,
lied
boss.
to you.
No, you can get a judge to sign off on it.
No,
Yes,
the
you
mother has to
can.
both agree with the father. But if the mother says, I want the money, you are not going anywhere, my man. Even if you sign away your rights, the responsibility for child support is only if the mother agrees. And she can still come back after 3 years and say, you know what, I changed my mind. I want this guy to now pay for
No, she
for
can't.
this
If he
child.
signs away his
It's
parental
not-
rights, no, she can't.
No,
She can't come back on him if he has
Oh
legally
my
signed away
goodness,
his
read up
parental
on
rights.
on this clause,
What?
guys. Please read.
What? There is no clause.
If he has signed away his parental
Ndumi,
rights, she can't come back
Ndumi,
2 years later and then ask for child. Like that does not happen.
Ndumi, just be honest with yourself and
I'm
tell these
being
people
honest.
that,
I'm
yes,
being
but tell these
honest.
people, no, you know that if the woman does not agree, the father can't just walk away.
So I'm
Yeah,
not
The woman has to
sure
say,
as to whether or
childwelfare.gov
not
also
there is
backs
a
up what I
need
said.
for her to agree. However, if a man has signed away his parental rights, she can't come back 2 years later and say, "Now I want child support." Like she can't. Like that's not a thing.
I will tag you. We've got a lawyer session and attorney session. I will follow you. Please follow me back and I will tag you when they bring up these things. But it's in black and white.
It's also
It's
just
in
it's also
black and
just such a
white.
it's such a whataboutism. It's what we're talking about abortion, then it's well, what about
No,
men's
it's not
rights?
a
Like sure,
whataboutism.
if
We've got
you hold on, if you think that the court systems are currently flawed against men and that men should have the ability to sign over parental rights whenever they want for any reason, great, go and champion for that. I will not tell you not to. But if the conversation is about should a woman be able to have an abortion, is abortion
It's
moral, is
logical
it right or wrong?
consistency.
No, it's not. It is quite literally a whataboutism. You're saying
No,
what
it's logical
about
consistency.
men's choice in the matter? We're not talking about
So-
should men also be able to remove parental rights. We're not talking about should men be able to sign over them whenever they want. The question
wasn't talking
is
about
abortion
Women can
wrong?
opt out of being.
That's a whataboutism.
Joven,
Is the title in the box abortion
Makwa.
is wrong? Yes or no? Because if it's abortion
Makwa
is
and
wrong,
Joven, are you gonna keep talking over me?
oh my fucking god, bro!
He was
Go
literally
ahead.
still
I was literally
talking.
in the
What
middle of a
the fuck
conversation
are you
talking when you
about?
started talking. But go nuts, kid.
He was still talking. Like, what are you talking about?
Well, he's saying things that are disingenuous.
No, I'm not.
No, he's not.
What is the?
So you've
what is
never
the?
said
The
anything.
conversation here is about abortion, not about child
Yes.
support. So he is right in that bringing up child support is a whataboutism because that's not the topic at hand.
Your mom.
We were not
Okay,
bringing it up. I said
Makwa,
I only
Makwa.
agree that he after I was asked you a simple question earlier on, it wasn't a debate. I was saying yes for the fact that you said that in Dumi, that you were being consistent. I applaud you for that. It wasn't a debate or anything like that. Those are the two questions after I was asked you earlier on, and you gave a consistent answer, better than
Okay.
Crystal. That's all I was saying. So why are you making it seem like we're bringing it up?
Makwa. I'm gonna ask your mom a simple question. Okay. So your mom, would you say that abortion is the consent to terminate one's parental rights? To abort is to sign away your parental rights. That you are no longer consenting to be a mom. You are no longer consenting to being pregnant. Would you say by definition that's what an abortion is? You are no longer consenting to be a parent or a mother?
Yeah.
So for a father to sign away his rights, instead of no longer consenting to be a mother since he's a male, he would be no longer consenting to be a father.
Correct.
So to be logically consistent, if women were to get one right, men should have the equal right to do the same thing. Even though men can't get pregnant, they should have equal right to sign away the ability to be a father, just like how women should have the right to sign away to be a mother for this particular debate. It's not my logic, it's theirs, but
No, that's
would you
still
agree?
still a whataboutism, my guy.
Yes,
The
correct.
question at the top of the board is abortion is wrong. Now, if you want to say abortion is wrong for whatever reason, great, we can have that conversation. But if you're just saying abortion is only wrong because the men can't do it too, well, great. I think the men should be able to do it too. There, abortion's right. But if abortion is wrong for any other reason, bringing up this idea of, well, let's be logically consistent and say the men should also be able to do it is a whataboutism. Because we're talking about, is abortion wrong morally?
Define whataboutism.
It's when we talk about a subject and you go, but what about this one? A completely separate subject.
So not only does what I just said not meet whataboutism, what I said falls under logical consistency. You're using the word whataboutism improperly in
No,
the
it's not.
context of the
You
debate.
are raising a separate issue from the issue that's being talked about. The issue that's being
Proposing a
talked about.
logical parallel or logical consistency is not considered whataboutism by any definition.
You
So please explain
literally, we're asking,
I'm still
is
confused
abortion
as
wrong?
to-
And you said
Yeah.
you're now on the concept of, well, what about the father's rights? What about those rights? Can the father remove the right? Now, sure, it may be logically consistent, but it's not at the heart of the issue that's being talked about, which is abortion wrong? Because I'm pretty sure Ndumi has also said the father should be able to sign over parental rights. I believe the father should be able to sign over parental rights. I think the host believes the father should be able to sign over parental rights. So why do we keep talking about whether the father can sign over parental rights or not?
It's
Have
so
the actual
irrelevant to the
conversation, which is
No,
abortion wrong?
I don't think the father should be able to. I don't.
Well, okay.
I never said the father should be able to either. I'm just
But
saying if we're going to be logically
Yeah.
consistent.
Yeah.
But that's just
May I
it.
talk?
But once
my
again,
God.
this isn't
May I
relevant
talk
to
to
the
you
topic
guys?
at hand.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead, Andre.
I'm from South America. I'm from Brazil. And here we got many problems with abortion and things like that. And clinics that is no legal, and we got many problems with women dying and women having many problems with that. And but I wanna give my opinion here. Um, I think abortion is wrong because uh, in United States, for example, Margaret Sanger were the first woman to make an abortion clinic,
Margaret Sanger
and
was
she
pro-life.
was obviously a racist.
Margaret Sanger was pro-life and not racist.
Like she is
She was not racist?
No, she wasn't.
really she were because
She
was
what?
from
She was
KKK,
not.
man.
Look at what the Negro Project actually was.
history.
She worked directly with Martin Luther King and other civil rights activists to bring contraception to underserved black neighborhoods. Now, was
had
she
connections with KKK,
was she a eugenicist for disabilities? Yes, but she was staunchly pro-life. She said that abortion is the worst thing a mother can do. That's why she wanted to focus on contraception to stop pregnancy from happening before it happens. This
So
misinformation
cool.
is
But
so
why she
wild
didn't put
because
the
it's so
clinic
easily
in
to.
the white
There are more abortion clinics in white neighborhoods than there are in black neighborhoods.
That's
Why-
false.
why-
No, it's
So
not.
why she
That's
put
false
the
No,
according
it
to
is not.
Planned Parenthood alone.
No, it's not. Planned Parenthood literally did a study in, I think it was 2015, where they counted all their abortion clinics, and the bulk of them were in neighborhoods that were predominantly white.
Yo, man.
Not proportionally.
Why
Bringing up-
does she
Bringing
put
up Margaret
the
Sanger
clinic
in like
in a black neighborhood?
There
here's
are
the
more
thing, though.
abortion
So
clinics.
bringing this,
Oh my
bringing
God.
this
Yeah,
thing
yeah,
up,
that's disgusting, man. That's
Oh my
eugenics.
good
okay,
God.
hold on. Here's the thing, though, right? Like
Proportionally,
bringing this up
no.
is okay. Hold
Number
on.
sure.
Bringing this up is quite irrelevant, right? Because you were framing it as though people are getting abortions for racist reasons, and that is simply not true. So, like, I don't see what the point of bringing Margaret up, because, like, how is that relevant to today's age?
It's a way to try to seem morally superior. Like, well, Margaret Sanger was racist,
Yeah,
so,
it's not.
but Margaret
I
Sanger
know.
was pro-life.
I think
She was
that
not
all
racist.
all lives matter to me. All lives. Here in Brazil, we got 6,000 homicides here per year. We got many problems with violence. We got many problems with the government. We got many problems with corruption. We got many problems left and right, and many problems here in Brazil. But the biggest problem is, how do you care about women that got pregnant in the like rape girls? Here is legal. Rape girls do the abortion. Here is legal. The girls that got kids that are, how, I don't know how to say in English, but I think it's disabled kids that got many problems. Here in Brazil, the girls can't do the abortion, and they can do the abortion if the mother got a life risk, and that's the law, man.
Yeah, so
But
can I jump in for a sec?
I gotta talk to myself. I gotta talk about myself. When I was born, my mother had made many decisions that were amazing, man. I did not have to born, and I'm obviously thankful about her decision and how she supported me and how she supported my life. And man, only people that were born can say that nobody must live, and that's disgusting, man. Because you are not giving the opportunity to the people who could be amazing, like Cristiano Ronaldo, the football player, like Justin Bieber. He were from a mother that she wanted to do the abortion, but she talked about it. She just left
Bro, why are we monologuing?
this decision. And
I'm
when
also
you see
wondering-
other guys like Lionel Messi, the
Okay,
other
Andre,
football player,
Andre,
and we
you're
see
monologuing.
musicians.
Andre, you okay? So saying that we should that abortions are wrong because someone has the potential to be great is a really dumb argument, because just as people have the potential to be great, they also have the potential to be shitty. So like that's just really not a good argument to
Facts.
make.
Also, Joven, you said Margaret Sanger was not a racist.
She's not.
PBS and Planned Parenthood both attribute this direct quote from her. This is from Planned Parenthood and PBS.org.
Exactly what quote you're
We do
gonna
not
use.
want word to get out that we
Yep.
wish to exterminate
Read the whole letter.
Negro
Read the whole
population.
letter. Read the whole letter. This is ridiculous. She was literally writing to a black person saying that they didn't want the misconception of the Negro Project to be that they were trying to exterminate black people, when the actual goal of the Negro Project was to give contraception. What? Bruh. What the... This is crazy. Like, I've read the letter. Like, the Negro Project was founded and created by black people with the help of Margaret Sanger, because she had the capital to get contraception to people.
Joven,
Like, yes.
Joven, what about this quote? I accepted an invitation to talk to the women's branch of the Ku Klux Klan.
Yes, she did.
The platform was introduced and began to speak. In the end, through simple illustrations, I believe I had accomplished my purpose. A dozen invitations to speak to similar groups were preferred.
Yes, she talked to the Ku Klux Klan. You
said she was pro-life. She also quoted, "I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world."
No, that's not what she said.
The most serious evil of our times is that of encouraging the bringing into the world of large families. Eugenics without birth control seems to be a house built upon the sands.
No, that's not what she said.
I wish to take advantage of the present opportunity to point out the unbalance between the birth rate and of the unfit and the fit. The most urgent problem today is how to limit and discourage over-fertility of the mentally and physically defective. No more children should be born when the parents, though healthy themselves, find that their children are physically or mentally defective.
Yes, she believed that. I never claimed she wasn't a eugenicist. So she absolutely believed that people with disabilities should be weeded out through proper contraception. But she did not believe in abortion. She thought abortion was the worst thing a mother could do for her. She literally did not. That's why Planned Parenthood didn't even start giving abortions until 4 years after she died.
But she also believed that women shouldn't have more than one child.
Sure, that's eugenics. There's a difference between eugenics and abortion. That's why she championed contraception. Planned Parenthood only existed to provide contraception.
Eugenics at this point in time was racially based. If you want to disagree, you would be contending with about...
Oh my fucking god. Oh my god, bro. This is so ridiculous. She did not believe in wiping out races. She believed in you can say, well, eugenics as a whole believe this, but that doesn't say what she believed. She worked with multiple civil rights leaders on things they requested and asked her to help them with, right? She believed in contraception. Now, whether her belief in contraception was that she wanted disabilities wiped out, 100%.
The logic you're using is so inconsistent.
It's not
that same logic.
Bro, you stop saying you don't know what that means. Stop saying that. You don't know what that means.
Inconsistent. It's not consistent.
No, you don't know what it means to be logically inconsistent. You're saying because you're saying because the concept here means A and B, she obviously means A and B. That's inconsistent with the information we have from her. And the information that we
have with her does not.
Yes, you read an impartial quote from a letter claiming, and now you went, well, do you know who the letter was written to? Do you know what the letter was about? Are you just taking that one quote you read on a Fox News site about the letter?
I've read the letter from Planned Parenthood that included the whole thing to Webb Du Bois in 1939.
Then you know.
Published on March 13th.
Then you know that when she said the quote, we don't want people thinking we're exterminating the black race, is because that's not what they were doing, and they were worried that that would be the perception from the public. If you read the letter, you should know this.
You've said so many disingenuous things, and with the logic you're using currently, because one of the biggest things...
I'm just looking at some stats right now as we speak, because my good friend sent me it. And actually, kids that are often born through grape and SA actually have slower mental development. They are born with a lower birth weight, because we obviously know that stress in pregnancy can affect the fetus. So what are we going to do to like resolve these problems then, pro-lifers? What are we going to do?
You can't.
I mean, you can allow people that do get SA'd to be allowed abortions.
We already made that exception.
Yeah, we've already made that exception, so your point is irrelevant. Back to what I was saying to Joven. So with that same logic that you're using, the Ku Klux Klan is no longer considered racist because for about a 30-year period they were working with the Nation of Islam inside of black communities and sending money to the Nation of Islam, which is a predominantly black organization.
Because these are the same things, right? Because these are the exact same things. That you want to talk about being disingenuous here, and then you want to just come out with the most disingenuous fucking...
Working with civil rights leaders.
What was the point of the Negro Project? What was the point of it?
Indulge me, humor me. What was the point of it?
No. See, I love when people do that. I love when people do that. When I ask a question, they go, "Well, you tell me." Indulge. No, I asked you a very simple question. What is the point of the Negro Project? Simple. One simple question.
Margaret Sanger's
the point of the Negro Project, as according to all information that I can find of it, was to spread awareness and contraceptives throughout the African American population inside of the United States of America, starting in 1938 and continuing into her death. Is that wrong?
Great. Now, what about that's racist?
So people can participate in certain things and. Okay.
Yep. What about it was racist? You're saying she's racist.
Did I say the Negro Project was racist?
When you talked about Margaret Sanger being racist, you used a quote of her talking about the Negro Project.
Joven. Okay, yes. She was explaining the rationale for using black people to advocate for birth control in that quote. That quote is taken out of context.
Yeah, it's always taken out of context.
Okay. Yes. Okay. I'm gonna use this logic, okay? Do you think just because I think Joven's white. I think the bottom.
No, I'm not white.
No.
Okay.
Not in the slightest.
Did any of you think Donald Trump is racist?
Yeah, based on the things he's done, yeah. I would say based on the things he has done specifically.
Based on the things he's done or said, because he created the most successful economy for African Americans this country.
No, he didn't.
He did.
No, he didn't.
He did not.
He did.
No, he didn't. There was no. We'll get into a whole other thing. He didn't pass any significant legislation that raised our economy. Our economy didn't jump by anything he did. It's been on a sliding scale since 2012, and it just continued on the same sliding scale.
It's been increasing since 2008.
So wait. All negative things are from Trump, but all positive things are from Obama.
That's not what I said, and that's a straw man of my argument. That was just a legit straw man.
My point is, a lot of people see people as racist for the things they say, and not for the things they do. I don't care what Margaret Sanger did or said, I don't care what you say. It's what you do.
Correct.
Donald Trump has said racist things.
Correct. What significant policy did he pass to raise our economy? Where was the jump? If he passed something significant to help our economy, we should have seen a jump when that was passed and when we started to see the economic benefits of that. But you can't point to a jump because now it depends on what metric you're looking at for the economy. But if we're looking at like GDP growth, the GDP growth went down the toilet with him. If we're looking at job creation, there was no significant jump in job creation by any policies he passed. So we can look at whatever metric you want to. When we look at those metrics in combination with the policies he passed. Now, the only thing I'll give Donald Trump is the First Step Act, maybe. But everything else...
Hasn't he said that if he was to become president again, he wouldn't allow trans people to be like publicly trans?
Yeah, but that's just on a whole nother.
I don't want to get into politics. I was just using him as an example of somebody who says things but accomplish things on another level.
I think it's a poor example personally. I think it's a poor example because when we're looking at like jumps, we don't see any right now.
Yeah,
Obviously, we can look at the last year of his presidency and see that COVID. So I'm not blaming him for any COVID losses or anything like that. I mean, he could have handled it better, but it's a pandemic. He was going to suffer in the economy either way. But when we look at the 3 years prior to COVID, there are no significant increases anywhere in the economy from anything Trump did. The Republicans even agree with this.
Okay, so you said it's been on a steady incline, and that there's a projection.
Depending on the metric you're looking at. Are you looking at unemployment, GDP growth, deficit? What are you looking at? What metric?
Unemployment.
Okay, yes, unemployment was basically on a sliding scale of, if you look at the unemployment rate in the country, it was on a sliding scale dropping, and then COVID hit, and then it went crazy.
And there's a projection for, based on over the years, how it's going to go, correct?
You can make a projection. I don't like those projections because like COVID, they can't really predict when something crazy is going to happen. But yeah, you can take an educated guess on the rate that it slid over a couple of years and say, is it going to continue?
Well, using Obama's rate, Donald Trump gained 7 times. Excuse me, he added 7 million jobs to the economy, which was more than 3 times the rate that Obama had, according to experts.
Wait, but we're not talking about whether he added jobs, because adding jobs doesn't matter if no one's working them. What we're talking about is, did the unemployment rate go down? Now, if we look at unemployment from when Trump took office, 2016, to before COVID, 2020, unemployment only went from 4.8 to 3.6 or 3.5. 3.5.
Yeah, the lowest in half a century.
Yes, it was low, but it went down a percentage. Obama took it from 9.9 all the way down to 4.8, which is like 5%. So like, he didn't do anything to add anything. It had been on that sliding scale since Obama. That's the problem. That's why when everybody goes, well, Trump did this for America, tell me the specific policy and tell me the increase from that policy. Otherwise, he didn't actually do anything. He just inherited a good economy. Which I'll give him this, he didn't make it worse. I'm not sitting here saying he made the economy worse. COVID made the economy worse. So I don't think he made it worse. I think he was largely a do-nothing president who didn't really do any jobs or do anything to begin with. Like, he didn't do much.
So then my point that I originally made, that you said you never said that, was accurate when I said that he inherited a good economy from Obama, which would be the previous president.
That's not what you said. You said so Trump did nothing and Obama did everything. That's a straw man of what I actually said.
So if he inherited, and you said he was a do-nothing president, that would mean if he's a do-nothing president, he did nothing. And if he inherited, that means Obama did everything.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we hadn't gotten there in the conversation yet. But at the time you said that was a straw man of what I was saying at the time, which is there was no significant policy. Like, you can boil the conversation down to whatever you want to make it seem like I'm shitting on Trump or whatever. But when he inherited the economy, he didn't do any significant policy change to increase our economy in any significant way, whether it was job creation. He actually raised the deficit and fucked up the GDP. Like, if we want to look at like what he actually did for the economy, is actually like slightly worse, because the policies he did pass, he didn't pass them while also maintaining the deficit.
Are we getting back to?
Can we go back to the?
Yeah,
would love to.
Because I don't know why we're talking about American politics.
Yeah.
Right now.
So according to the 2010 U.S. Census, 79% proportionally, Planned Parenthood clinics are located inside of Black neighborhoods, which you said wasn't the number before.
That's not. Hold on. There's an issue with that quote. There's an issue with that quote, because when you talk about are they located in majority, it's not like majority Black neighborhoods. The way we calculate whether something is a majority Black neighborhood or majority Hispanic neighborhood or whatever is if that neighborhood has a higher percentage than the county average. But oftentimes, even a higher percentage than the county average is still less than the amount of white people in that neighborhood. So we don't want to look at like which ones are located in predominantly Black neighborhoods, because that predominantly Black neighborhood nomenclature or whatever the word is, I can't speak right now because it's fucking 8 a.m. isn't the stat we need to look at. We need to look at, are they in neighborhoods that are predominantly white, which most abortion clinics, I can give you the exact quote or the exact figure, which is 6 in 10 abortion providers are located in neighborhoods where more than half of residents are white. And even though some of those neighborhoods where over half are white would still be considered Black neighborhoods or or Hispanic neighborhoods if the percentage of Black or Hispanic people is over the county average. That's why this quote
You're not taking into account proportionality.
Oh my,
Not
you
even
don't have to
vaguely.
take into account proportionality when we're looking at what? Come on, bro.
If 70% of the US's
Oh my
population is
God.
composed of non-Latino white people, right? You would agree 73.45%, according to the 2020 census. You would agree to that?
Sure. If the census says it, sure. Even though Black and Latino people are less likely to fill out the census, but sure.
Okay. So let's say 70%, we'll add an extra 3% in there. So let's say 70% of the US is composed of solely white people. Does that not mean, by sheer metrics alone, if we're not taking into proportionality, that if there are going to be abortion clinics, if 70% of the population is white, then by metric alone, if you're going to put an abortion clinic and you throw a random dart at the mat, it's most likely to end up in a white neighborhood or a predominantly white neighborhood or a predominantly white area
Yes.
if 70% of the map is white?
Yes. That's what
Okay.
that's literally what I'm saying is I'm saying that it's a myth
So
that they're located, because the thing that we're always saying is, why are
so
they
then
located
proportionality is everything.
No, it's not. You're saying, why are they located in predominantly Black neighborhoods when the people utilizing these services or the people that these services are surrounding are not predominantly Black?
That's not even vaguely true in the state of New York, or even 53% of abortions in the US as of 2018 were from Black people. So it's not even that white people, which make up 70% of the population, are the majority of people. If there was no proportionality with it, then what we should be seeing is 70% of abortions roughly should be white people. But it's
Why
not.
does
The vast
Well,
majority of
sure,
abortions are Black people.
Yes, because Black people are predominantly way more poor than white people, so they have more abortions. But that's a cause. That is 100% a difference in like causation versus correlation, right? We're not saying that Black people are getting more abortions because abortion is racist. Black people are getting more abortions because they are statistically more likely to be poor than their white counterparts.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Poor people get more abortions. If you look at white people, poor white people get more abortions than rich white people.
Yep.
So it's a causation versus correlation issue.
And obviously they're
You're
making
on-
the choice as well in it's a responsible decision. You know, if you know you're going to bring this child into the world and you're poor, what quality of life are you giving that child?
But we even know that when we look at abortion clinics, fewer than 1 in 10 abortion clinics are located in neighborhoods where more than half of residents are Black. So Black people aren't being targeted. What's being targeted is poor neighborhoods. Now, yeah, there's gonna be a higher percentage of Black people in poor neighborhoods typically because Black people are statistically more poor than white people. But they're not being targeted because they're Black. They're being targeted because they're poor, which I think is a good thing because Planned Parenthood does way more than abortions. And poor people in these neighborhoods specifically that Planned Parenthood goes into are neighborhoods that have high populations of no health insurance or high population of people who are underinsured. But even that doesn't tell us why abortion is wrong. Because if you're just saying abortion's wrong because it targets Black people, fine, I'll put an abortion clinic in literally every city in America. Then we're no longer targeting Black people and abortion is not wrong anymore.
Right. I'm still like waiting to hear a valid reason as to why abortion is wrong. Other than I think it's murder.
Human life ended.
That's a 10-week-old fetus. That.
Well, hold on. We can dig into
average is 13.
We can dig into
not a
human
10-week-old fetus.
Wait, we can dig into. I can
put the source if you'd like. It is.
Well, we can dig. Well, the average abortion is chemical abortion happens anywhere prior to 12 weeks. I don't know exactly like which week is the most, but it's they're done by chemical abortions. That's like what 80 to 90%. I don't know the exact numbers off the top of my head. But if we're saying abortion is wrong because it's, oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Do me.
Oh, I was gonna say that if you think that like, oh, it's wrong to get rid of all life and life begins at conception, then you would also have to hold that for things like IVF and like stem cell research and treatment, which a lot of people do not.
Not all stem cells come from embryos. Most stem cells are induced pluripotent stem cells.
I know, but I'm talking specifically about embryonic stem cells.
Most embryonic stem cells, like I said, are still induced pluripotency, so no, that wouldn't apply to most.
Why would it not apply? Because if you believe that life begins at conception, then that means that an embryo is alive. And if you're saying that abortion
induced
is wrong,
pluripotency does not equal an embryo.
that it's a human life, why are you not also fighting against IVF? Do you know how many embryos go to waste because of IVF?
I'm not a supporter of IVF.
You're not a supporter of IVF?
Nope.
That's fine. It's consistent with your views. That's fine. My biggest thing is, if we're saying abortion is wrong because it's a human life and all human life should be valued, do we hold that stance in every instance, or are we special pleading for fetuses? I would argue that as a society, we're special pleading for fetuses.
What'd you ask again?
Are we holding, if abortion is wrong because it's a human life, are we holding that stance for all human life at all stages, or are we special pleading for fetuses?
All.
Okay, so then why do we pull the plug on brain dead people?
That's a family decision. That's just the way it's set
not
up.
Not in a lot of cases. Sometimes the doctors can override the family and just pull the plug if they want to.
Well,
Also, why is it okay for the family to make that decision, but it's not okay for the person who's pregnant to make the decision to
How many
get an
weeks is that
abortion?
fetus? Tell me, how many weeks is that fetus?
That's 10 weeks according to the World Health Organization.
I literally had a miscarriage. I will tell you, I had a miscarriage. It was a blob in the toilet. Ain't no way that miscarriage.
It was a blob in the toilet after how many days of necrosis? After how many days of necrosis? Did you count?
This is such a point. Like,
because according to the World Health Organization, that's a 10-week-old fetus.
Yeah, that 10-week-old fetus. Hold on, that 10-week-old fetus is inside of the thing that's in.
It is, but no, I'm not addressing you. I'm addressing that person being disingenuous. And according to your picture that you have,
You love that word.
according to multiple medical journals,
I have personal scans from all throughout my pregnancy. I can grab them now if you want, and show you them, because you can't. I'm not being funny. You can't tell professionals are on sonographers. You can't. You know. I'll go find my book and I will show you the scans, because I have scans from 5 weeks, 7 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, and 28 weeks. And I will find it. Here it is. Hold on, let me turn my green screen off.
What are we doing right now?
Well, I think we're
5 weeks. You see that? That's 5 weeks. Right, so it's an egg. Doesn't have the fetal pole or anything. Oh, did he leave? Oh, did he leave? Because I was showing him proof. That's 7 weeks. That's 7 weeks.
I just want to get down to the morality issue.
Right, because like I also want to go back to the host. You said that when it comes to pulling the plug on someone who's brain dead, oh, that's a family decision. That's fine. So why is it okay for the family to make that choice and not for the person who's pregnant to make the choice to terminate the pregnancy?
I never claimed that it was fine. I said that's just how it's set up.
You didn't say it was morally wrong.
I mean, what?
Well, he might find it morally wrong. He didn't give us his stance on the morality, so he might. My question is, even if it's a human life, even if we grant it full right to life at conception, why does that now give it the right to use somebody's bodily resources without their consent? Because nobody else gets that right.
Because the person whose body it's using was forced into that state. The fetus was forced into that state of dependency by that person.
Forced how? By what metric?
By the choice of engaging in sexual intercourse.
But there was no third party when engaging to sexual intercourse. So why does the sexual intercourse remove their right to bodily autonomy? Why is that a rights removal when this fetus didn't exist when they engaged in sex?
What do you mean there wasn't a third party? So
when we're talking about sex removes their right to bodily autonomy because now there's a third party, we're saying that the sex is the action that removes that right. So the sex has now violated some sort of right that the fetus has, but the fetus doesn't exist when there's sex. The embryo doesn't even exist when the sex happens. So how you can't violate someone's rights by an action prior to that person existing. The first rights infringement actually comes from the fetus. The fetus is the first thing infringing on any sort of rights, not the person who had sex.
Sorry, I'm trying to... I don't ever believe I recalled saying that the sex removes any type of rights.
Well, you're saying that because they had engaged in consensual sex, they cannot remove the fetus, which would be a right given to the fetus, that the fetus now has this right to life that supersedes the woman's right to bodily autonomy.
I don't think that sex grants the right.
Then why can't we remove the fetus?
Because life is an innate right. Like
Okay,
you
I
said
would like to
earlier.
ask. I would like to propose a hypothetical, right? So let's say that a father has like a genetic condition, right? And he passes this genetic condition onto his child, and this child is alive, right? And then later on in life, the child now needs a kidney transplant, and the only person who is a match is the father. Is the father now then obligated to give his kidney to this child?
Is the child in that state of dependency because of something the father did
Yes,
intentionally?
the father gave him the genetic disorder. It is the father's fault that he has that genetic disorder, right? So
Intentionally, though?
he is now dependent. It doesn't matter if it's intentional or not. He is now dependent on the father for kidney transplant in order to live. Are you now saying that the father is obligated to donate his kidney to his kid?
I'm a bad bitch. Fuck the bitch. Bitch get slick. I'ma cut the
I wish that
bitch. I'm
wasn't.
a
I wish that
bad
wasn't kind of funny, but that was kind of funny. Low key, that was kind of funny. I think in Doobie it's a good question, but I think before we can even get there, we have to figure out what type of the right to life is. Is it a positive or negative right? Personally, I'd say it's a negative. So it's just about whether the host believes it's a positive or a negative as well, because that's going to dictate the entirety of the next conversation. I don't know where he went though.
I'm right here. Hold on.
I'm a bad.
Shut up,
That was
Izzy.
funny. I can't even laugh.
But like, this is what I mean. Like, I'll show people my scans, which were done, by medical professionals at hospitals, and they'll still go false, fake, and I'm like,
I love the pictures that they bring up.
Doomy, is that how you pronounce it, right?
Yep.
I don't believe the father should be obligated to do that.
Right. So if we can understand that no one is obligated to donate their personal resources to sustain the life of another person, then why does it suddenly change when it comes to a fetus?
Because in that certain situation, that's why I use the word intentional whenever I ask you. Again, if somebody did not intend on having
My bad.
if somebody did not intend on having intercourse, then I don't believe that they're obligated to have the pregnancy. But unless you were assaulted, then you did, which is why I hold the exception for people who are assaulted. Because
But if someone has sex using contraception, right, then they're obviously not intending to get pregnant. But if that contraception fails and they get pregnant, is it fine for them to get an abortion then?
It's not about whether you intend to get pregnant. It's about whether you intend to engage in intercourse.
What about mental health? As we've seen, women
what?
that have had kids have developed postnatal psychosis and actually unalived their children because that woman couldn't get the support and help that she needed. This was in the US. So what are you gonna do? Are you gonna try and help people for mental health services? Postnatal depression and anxiety is so common after pregnancy, and a lot of people just do not cope.
I think I generally think what's important here is determining whether you believe that the right to life is a positive or negative right. That's for you, host.
To be completely honest with you, I'm familiar with them, but I'm not in the case of making an argument based surrounding them. Like, I know negative rights don't require action, correct?
Yeah, a negative right would require no duty from someone to maintain that right. Like, they just basically have to do nothing. A positive right would entail some sort of duty or action from the person maintaining it.
So I believe in parental obligation. So I guess in this case, I would believe it would be a pregnancy and childbirth would be a positive right, I guess.
So why does the right to life change dependent on the location of the fetus?
What would your case be for whenever the fetus would be inside of the womb?
Well, I just think all right to life is a negative right. I don't think anybody's obligated to provide you any sort of resources to maintain your life, because we don't do that naturally. Now, if we create a society where everybody's giving everything, maybe we could talk about it. But I think the right to life is a negative, not a positive. I think.
Well, I mean,
yeah, go ahead.
I mean, negative and positive rights are somewhat subjective, are they not?
I don't think so. No, I think they're
Not
pretty objective. Like what is a
Because
negative and what is a or do you just mean like how we place them?
like how we apply them.
I would say how we apply them can be subjective, but it's just about remaining consistent in how we apply them. So like if you're saying the right to life is positive, right? I would say we need to maintain that throughout the whole of the creature's existence, not just in one instance, because then you're forcing someone to give something, but you're not forcing others to, and it's a little special pleading and unfair.
Yeah, I just want to point out a comment. Somebody said that I have like good points, but not critical thinking. It's 8:45 a.m. here. I woke up at 8 a.m. yesterday, and I haven't gone to sleep. I've been on this live since 6 a.m.
Yeah, I can tell you tired, homie. I can see the glazed over look in your eyes half the time.
Yeah, but I think the way we apply positive and negative rights could be subjective because, like you said, you don't believe that any action should be required. Whatever you said about the resources and all that, but some people may think that, some people may believe in parental obligation.
Yeah, I think parental obligation is. Oh, go ahead.
It also depends on the theory of rights that you have. So not everybody subscribes to the view that positive rights are like when you require something from somebody else, such as a good or a service. Some people would subscribe to the view that positive rights are completely illegitimate because they would only be entitlements granted by the government. So people have different views on positive and negative rights, and some people don't see a delineation at all. Some people just see rights and that's it. And the rights, like what they entail, can vary depending on the stage of life that we're in.
Sure, then we can move away from positive and negative if we all want to agree that they're somewhat subjective in nature, depending on your view of light and all that. My only other question would be in terms of parental obligation, how does that work when there's more than one child? Who receives the obligation?
Are you talking to me?
Yeah. Or anybody that believes parental obligation that wants to answer.
Can you repeat the question? I was reading comments.
How does parental obligation hold if there's more than one child? Who receives the obligation?
All of the children.
So I'll give you an example. And I don't remember who it was, but I talked to somebody a long time ago. So there are certain antidepressants that will cause, if you get pregnant, cause the fetus to have massive physical deformities, ones that would cause it pain throughout its whole life, could possibly cause it to miscarry, could possibly cause it to die later on in life. If somebody is taking these antidepressants because they need them to be able to function to care for their child, like they're already pregnant or they already have a kid and they get pregnant, their options would either be to go off the antidepressants and possibly lose care of their current child or not be able to care for them properly, which I believe would be which would affect their parental obligation to that child, or they would keep taking them and then that fetus has a potential of dying, which I would say in your view would be messed up in the parental obligation in that regard. So like which child gets the parental obligation in this scenario?
I don't have an answer.
Okay, that's a fair way to answer.
My brain is having trouble processing everything right now. I'm completely tired. I'm probably going to end the live stream here in a second.
I think you should probably go to bed. You look exhausted.
I should.
Really quick, though, I did want to address a little bit of the misinformation that Izzy pulled up when she pulled up the Guardian photo. That has been debunked by even pro-choicers all over TikTok.
If you want, I can get out my
that
scans.
Guardian.
Do you want me to show you my scans again?
Yeah, I have an ultrasound on my page, a 3D ultrasound actually of a 9-week embryo. It's about the size of a grape.
No, you
So
don't.
10 week.
No.
Yes, I do actually. Yes, I do. And yes, I do. And
I've been pregnant, and you have to have.
yes, I
vaginal
literally do, and I study biomedical sciences. So
Okay, but I've been pregnant. But okay, that's invalid. Sure, go off, Gilly Pop.
yeah, that's a gestational sac.
I'm just saying I haven't seen anything
if you read,
debunking, but go ahead.
Yeah, I mean I've seen a bunch of pro-choicers even call that out, not only on like videos but on lives as well. So I mean that's a gestational sac. That was after the contents of the uterus were emptied entirely. They removed the embryo or the fetus, and they only kept the gestational sac. If you read the article further, it actually details that in the article itself.
I can literally show you my scans personally if you'd like.
Okay, so the misinformation is you're claiming is that people are misrepresenting the picture, not that the picture is incorrect, but it's that it's being misrepresented.
No, she was saying that was a 10-week fetus. That's not a 10-week fetus.
I'd
There is no
appreciate
10-week
it.
fetus in the photo itself. It's only the gestational sac.
Ouch.
Well, yeah, at 10 weeks, the embryo is not visible to the naked eye.
It is. It's the size of a grape. A little, slightly larger than the size of a grape, actually.
I'm looking at pictures of them right now. It looks pretty visible. I'm looking at a picture of one in a hand.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. You can actually see them in your hand. There are photos of miscarried 9-week and
I've
10-week
literally miscarried
fetuses.
myself. I've miscarried myself. It was a blob in the toilet. It was a blob.
Yeah,
It weren't getting
that's
up,
just a personal
doing the taxi
anecdote.
slide.
That's
It's not
just a personal anecdote. You
anecdote.
could say
I've
you could
literally
say
got
whatever you
friends
want.
who've had miscarriages. You can't see them until you're later on in the pregnancy. You cannot.
Right. Again, there's an
I'm sorry,
ultrasound
but
on my
have you been pregnant?
page
No,
from.
you haven't.
I
Have
don't
you
need
had
to be
miscarriage?
pregnant. That's a
No,
personal.
you've
That's a
not.
personal attack. That's an ad
Personal
hominem.
attack. Personal attack.
Yeah. Y'all love using these words.
I mean, he is right. You're using a personal anecdote when there's literally photos on the internet of 10-week-old fetuses by very trustworthy sources and scientists and biologists that show it very, very clearly visible. So, I mean, I don't know what happened with you. I'm not saying you're not credible, but I'm also saying you can't say that what we have isn't credible because it's literally here.
Well, I'm just telling you, I saw a blob in the toilet, and I flushed it. Anyway, bye-bye.
Jesus Christ, is he?
It doesn't let me turn my camera around because I have a green screen on, and it doesn't let me take it off. But I would turn around and show you. But yeah, 10-week-old fetus is very much physically noticeable.
I mean, I don't care whether it is or isn't. That I mean, in my argument, that doesn't matter.
But I'm just saying it's there. It's physical. You can hold it. It takes the shape of a very, very, very small baby. Has a head,
reptile.
2 legs, 2 arms.
Is debate over? Or we?
Yeah, I don't think it really matters whether or not it's visible. I just think what she was showing in the photo was a bit disingenuous.
Well, I know, fair enough, you might think that, but again, I've got my own scans from professional sonographers, so.
Right, I can pull it up if you'd like.
I can show you my scans if you'd like, done at Sheffield and Barnsley Hospital, South Yorkshire. I can show you.
Yeah, I think Izzy just started live. The host wants to go to sleep.
Yeah, Izzy, where are you from?
The UK.
Britain.
Yeah, you sound a lot like Patty. Do you know Patty? Is it Patty Pimblett? He's a fighter. Like in the UFC.
Oh no, he's Irish, isn't he? Or is he Yorkshire? I see. I'm from Yorkshire. I don't know. Google it, dude, because I might be. I am not Scottish.
She's
Brad.
British.
British.
He got a cup of water.
But,
he's from England. He's from Liverpool.
Oh, he's from Liverpool. It's still nowhere near me. You'll have a Liverpoolian accent, but I'm from Yorkshire, so that's further up north.
It just sounded very similar.
Water.
I'm probably.
If you want though, guys, I can start a live if the host wants to go to sleep. I can host.
The host needs to go to sleep.
You
I
go
appreciate
sleep.
all of you guys for coming on.
No
for
problem.
sure, for
Thank
sure.
you.